mynews.studio.
Picture this: a future where after a heart attack, the human heart could actually repair itself. Could a single gene make that possible?
Today is December 4th, 2025. A team at Mount Sinai has managed to reactivate cyclin A2, CCNA2, in adult human heart cells. Essentially, they've turned back the clock, encouraging the heart to regenerate new tissue. But what does this really mean for cardiac medicine?
For years, it was believed that once we're born, our heart cells stop dividing. That's why damage from a heart attack is usually permanent. But in this study, by reintroducing the CCNA2 gene using a viral vector, adult heart cells, even from people in their 40s and 50s, actually started dividing again. And these weren't just random cells. They kept their usual structure and function.
So before this, we'd only seen it happen in animal models, right? Why is it so significant that it's now shown in human heart tissue?
Exactly. The first big breakthrough was in pigs back in 2014. But with this new study, we see it working in human cells. Interestingly, the gene therapy didn't have the same effect on heart cells from younger donors. That lines up with what we already know. Younger hearts have some ability to regenerate. Older ones don't. What's notable is that CCNA2 temporarily reactivates a sort of fetal program in adult cells. But it's self-limiting. The gene expression fades after division stops. That aspect is important for safety.
And about safety, moving this from the lab to real-world treatment isn't straightforward. What are the main obstacles before this could be used for patients?
There are several challenges. First, safety is the top priority. The researchers are using a replication-deficient adenoviral vector that targets only the heart, but they need to make sure it doesn't cause an immune response or spread to other tissues. Another issue is dosage. They have to find the right balance, enough gene activity to encourage repair, but not so much that it could lead to uncontrolled cell growth. Timing matters too. Delivering the therapy at the right moment after injury could be crucial.
And the logistics? Manufacturing these viral vectors at scale, getting them into patients safely. How realistic is that?
It's complicated. Producing high-quality vector for thousands or even millions of patients requires major infrastructure and regulatory oversight. And the delivery method is via intracoronary infusion during cardiac catheterization. That's a complex procedure, only available at specialized centers with trained staff. So, at least in the beginning, access will be very limited.
So even if the therapy works, access could be a huge problem. What might this mean for patients in countries with fewer resources?
It's a real dilemma. If it succeeds, the therapy could eventually reduce costs linked to heart transplants or long-term heart failure care. But right now, everything needed, specialized labs, skilled cardiologists, manufacturing facilities, is concentrated in wealthier countries. Without significant investment or partnerships, it's unlikely to reach lower income settings anytime soon.
Is there any way to make this technology more widely available in the future?
There are options, but it will take coordinated effort, technology transfer, training programs, and support from global health donors or philanthropic organizations could help. In the long run, biosimilar or generic vectors might bring down costs, but unless global health policy makes access a priority, there's a risk this innovation stays limited to those who can afford it.
Let's turn to regulation and ethics. What steps have to happen before this could be offered to patients?
First, it needs regulatory approval, starting with preclinical safety studies, then phase 1 human trials to assess safety, and after that, larger studies to prove it works. Regulators will look at everything. Could the vector cause DNA mutations? Does it increase cancer risk? Any unintended effects on other tissues?
And patients, making sure they're fully informed about the risks. That's essential, right?
Definitely. Every participant must know this is experimental and that the long-term effects aren't fully understood yet. Even if early results suggest the process stops itself, only years of follow-up can confirm safety. Also, clinical trials should include people from different ages, backgrounds, and communities to avoid the biases that have affected cardiac research in the past.
Let's talk about cost. If the therapy proves successful, will it be affordable for most people?
That's a major issue. Pharmaceutical companies will want to recover their development costs, so pricing will be a big question. Governments might have to negotiate or even support the development of generic versions. Otherwise, access could become another gap between rich and poor.
On a different note, are there concerns about reactivating genes that are supposed to be dormant?
Some people may worry about that, but the process here is controlled and temporary, unlike permanent gene editing. Oversight by regulatory and ethics committees will be important to set the boundaries for how it's used.
Once it's approved somewhere, there's also the risk of patients traveling abroad for treatment that isn't available or allowed in their own country.
Exactly. That brings up big questions about how follow-up care is handled, who's responsible for any complications, and how oversight works when patients cross borders.
Looking ahead, when might we actually see this therapy in clinics?
If everything goes well, Phase 1 trials could begin in 2 or 3 years. Widespread clinical use, maybe 5 to 10 years out. The ultimate goal is to help the heart heal itself, moving past just managing symptoms toward real repair.
Could this same approach be used for other organs in the body?
That's still unknown. This work challenges the old belief that adult organs can't regenerate. If similar mechanisms exist elsewhere, we might eventually see new ways to repair the brain, pancreas, and other tissues.
So, in summary, this could change how we treat heart disease, but there are real challenges with access, regulation, and ethics. The story is just beginning.
Heart cell regeneration is becoming reality, but making it available for everyone will need years of work and cooperation worldwide.
Thanks for joining us as we explored this important step in regenerative medicine.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. Try it now for free.